Sergeant Sadowski, we're live.
Thank you, and good afternoon. Will sergeants please start their recording?
Computer recording started.
Thank you.
According to the cloud, all set.
Thank you, and good afternoon, and welcome to today's remote New York City Council hearing of the Committee on Governmental Operations. At this time, would all council members and council staff please turn on their video? To minimize disruption, please place electronic devices on vibrate or silent mode. If you wish to submit testimony, you may do so at testimony@council.nyc.gov. Once again, that is testimony@council.nyc.gov. Thank you, Chair Cabrera. We're ready to begin.
Good afternoon. I am Councilmember Fernando Cabrera, Chair to the Committee on Governmental Operation. I want to start off by thanking the members of the committee joining us today. Council members myself, Councilmember Darma Diaz, Councilmember Rodriguez. I believe that's all we have for Councilmember Yeager and Councilmember Powers. Today, the committee will be hearing two pieces of legislation. Introduction number 2257, sponsored by myself, will require the Board of Standard and Appeals, also known as BSA, upon issuing a decision affecting the use of a parcel land to have a copy of that decision recorded in the county in which the property is located. This will ensure that the BSA's decision affecting property in Manhattan, Brooklyn, Queens, and the Bronx will be available in the automatic city register information system. Decisions affecting property in Staten Island will be available in the electronic recording system maintained by the Richmond County Clerk. I'm proud to sponsor this legislation to improve government transparency, and I'm grateful to BSA Chair Marjorie Permuter and her staff for their collaboration on this bill. Introduction number 2313, sponsored by Councilmember Danis Rodriguez, will create an Office of Ethnic and Community Media and place certain requirements on agency advertising spending. New York City is home to more than 3 million immigrants, and more than 1 in 5 New Yorkers is considered limited English proficient. The last 7 years, multilingual campaigns conducted by the city have become the norm. We saw this with the initial ID NYC rollout, and mostly recently in the city's census campaign and COVID-19 rapid response in 2020. In 2019, the mayor signed Executive Order 47, which directed city agencies to spend at least half of their advertising budgets on ethnic and community media outlets. Fiscal year 2020, the city spent $9.9 million, or 84% of its total advertising dollars in these types of media outlets. This is a dramatic improvement from only 18% spent on community media advertising in 2013. The COVID-19 pandemic has shown all of us the vital importance of ensuring that diverse communities receive timely and accurate information from the city in their preferred language. It is undeniable that the trusted messengers such as ethnic and community media outlets are able to speak to the hard to reach community that mainstream media outlets who primarily print in English. The mayor's Executive Order 47 is widely seen as a resounding success, and both city government and community media publishers have seen the benefit of reaching New Yorkers through media they trust and engage with. Introduction 2313 will codify Executive Order 47, guarantee that the commitment the city has made to advertising ethnic and community media outlets is maintained and strengthened in the coming years. I want to thank Councilmember Rodriguez for being an advocate for immigrants and limited English proficient community in his district across our city, and I commend him this legislation. I want to thank the Board of Standard and Appeals, the Mayor's Office of Operation for being here today, and I look forward to their testimony. And as always, I'd like to thank the Dream Team Committee staff that we have, CJ Murray, Emily Forjon, Elizabeth Cron, Sebastian Bacci, and the central staff operating this remote hearing behind the scenes. And I also want to thank my own legislative director, Clark Pena, for making this hearing possible. I will now turn it over to my colleague, Councilmember Rodriguez to say a few words about his bill.
Thank you, Chairman Cabrera, for your leadership on these bills and in many other bills, not only in the Great Borough of the Bronx, where you've been in champion, but also in the whole city of New York, especially looking to protect working class and middle class New Yorkers. I know that not only my bills, but your bill is very important for you. I know that you have lived the experience working with so many ethnic and community media in the whole borough of the Bronx, also in the city of New York. You've been working with them, ethnic media from the Asian community, from Bangladesh, from other group that you have in the boroughs. Also, you've been a leaders also working with the Latino ethnic media that we have, as also working with all the ethnic community media for the Jewish community that also had their own newspaper, from the Afro-American communities, and for everyone who understand that many New Yorkers are living today like myself. When I came here, I used to wash dishes without speaking the language. And however, I contribute from 83 to 2000. And when I live with green card, at the same level as I've been contributing after being a teacher, after being elected official. So, this bill that will allow the city of New York to expand on the executive order that the Mayor de Blasio established before COVID. Now we have a great opportunity to work together with Mayor de Blasio, his team, Polo Chor, Emma Wolf, and from the Speaker, Corey Johnson, Jason Goldman, and James, and everyone, that really want to work on this hearing, to work together to pass this bill, so that we will have an office with a director, with a person in charge of marketing, to be sure that if we are saying that 50% of the investment, all those millions of dollars that we invest at the city of New York to media, should go to the any community media. It should go to programs such as Nazario, such as Cesar Romero. It should go to Manuel Ruiz. Those people and other in the Creole who speak Creole, who speak Cantonese, who speak also other language in the city of New York, who have an audience who've been paying their taxes. And however, they have not been able to get the city to put millions of dollars as they've been doing to the mainstream media. And we've been working together, not only again with you in this bill, but also I've been working together with Brooklyn Borough President Eric Adams, who is also a co-prime, as a co-prime, Speaker Corey Johnson, as also is a co-prime, Oswald Felix. And we working together will see this office being created. As we all know very well, our city is among one of the most diverse in the world. Our melting pot communities consist of over 200 different languages across the 5 boroughs, with people from all over the globe. I think that as we are looking for, how to expand, there's a lot that we have to do. Unfortunately, during the height of the pandemic, we saw that many of these immigrants, low-income communities were also the ones who were hit the hardest by COVID-19. When many upper-class New Yorkers left to the Hudson Valley, left to the Hampton, working-class New Yorkers who read the newspaper, who follow the blog, who follow the TV, the local ethnic community TV program, they didn't see the city investing their dollar on COVID-19, on any other millions of dollars that the city being invested. I think that it is time, again, for our city to give the respect to all New Yorkers, especially those 35% of New Yorkers who have been born and raised in another country. Intro 2313, which I work closely with Speaker Corey Johnson, Brooklyn Borough President Eric Adams, would establish, and also Felix, will establish the Mayor's Office of Ethnic and Community Media. Our goal is to ensure we are not excluding our ethnic and local media outlets. They have the potential to play a key role in sharing information with communities of all backgrounds across the city. According to the Central Community for Community Media CUNY's Craig Newmark Graduate School of Journalism, there are over 300 ethnic and local media in New York City. And of course, I have some concern on how CUNY, some people related to CUNY published an article in the last couple of weeks without giving credit to what is already in plan to create this office. It is crucial that we support our local media outlets and work with them to share important information. Many Spanish-speaking media outlets, as other ethnic media, receive significantly less or nothing on funding from the city's total advertising spending, even though they make up over 28% of the total city population and contribute millions of dollars in taxes. It is time for us to work on this bill. You will hear from different publishers on the ethnic community media, and together we will pass it. Nosotros hoy estamos aquí agradeciéndole al presidente de este comité, que ha sido un líder en el Bronx en este tema y en otros, asegurándonos que pasemos un proyecto de ley apoyado por el Speaker Corey Johnson, apoyado por el presidente del condado, Eric Adams, que va a crear la oficina de prensa étnica y comunitaria, que va a garantizar que por primera vez la ciudad de Nueva York invierta millones de dólares en todos los periódicos, en todos los programas de televisión, en todos los blogs que nosotros tenemos. Juntos vamos a pasar este proyecto de ley. Gracias.
Thank you so much, Councilmember Rodriguez. I will now turn it over to our moderator, Elizabeth Cronk, to go over some of the procedural items. And let me just recognize we've also been joined by Councilmember Perkins.
Thank you, Chair Cabrera. I am Elizabeth Cronk, Senior Policy Analyst to the Committee on Governmental Operations. Before we begin testimony, I want to remind everyone that you will be on mute until you are called on to testify, at which point you will be unmuted by the host. I will be calling on panelists to testify. Please listen for your name to be called. The first panelist to give testimony and to respond to council member questions today will be representatives from the Board of Standards and Appeals, or BSA. After Chair Cabrera and council members have had an opportunity to ask questions of the BSA on Introduction 2257, I will call the second panel from Mayor's Office of Operations to give testimony on Introduction number 2313. From the BSA, we are joined by BSA Chair Marjorie Perlmutter and BSA General Counsel Kurt Steinhaus. From the Mayor's Office of Operations, we are joined by Chief of Staff Brady Hamed and Senior Advisor Joshua Sidis. Panelists, I will call on you when it is your turn to speak. During the hearing, if a council member would like to ask a question of a specific panelist, please use the Zoom raise hand function and I will call on you in order. We will be limiting council member questions to 5 minutes, which includes the time it takes the panelists to answer your question. Please note that for ease of this virtual hearing, there will not be a second round of questioning outside of questions from the committee chair. All hearing participants should submit written testimony to testimony@council.nyc.gov. Before we begin testimony, I will administer the oath. Chair Perlmutter, General Counsel Steinhaus, Chief of Staff Hamed, and Senior Advisor Sidis, please raise your right hand. I will read the oath once and then call on each of you individually for a response. Do you affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth before this committee, and to respond honestly to council member questions? BSA Chair Perlmutter.
I so affirm.
BSA General Counsel Steinhaus.
I do.
Mayor's Office of Operations Chief of Staff Hamed.
I do.
Mayor's Office of Operations Senior Advisor Sidis.
I do.
Thank you. Chair Perlmutter, you may begin your testimony.
Thank you. Good morning, Chair Cabrera and members of the Governmental Operations Committee. I am Marjorie Perlmutter, Chair of the New York City Board of Standards and Appeals. I want to thank you for the opportunity to testify today. The Board of Standards and Appeals supports Introduction number 2257, which would require the board to record in the Office of the City Register or the Richmond County Clerk's Office notice of each of its orders, requirements, decisions, determinations, resolutions, or restrictive declarations. First, I would like to provide a brief background on the Board of Standards and Appeals, as well as the reasons for our support, and then take questions. Since 1916, the board has worked to administer zoning, building, and housing regulations in a fair and just manner to protect the city's interest in safeguarding the general welfare while balancing private property interests. In this role, the board has frequently been called a, quote, relief valve, a protector of the city's regulations from constitutional challenge, and a guardian of the urban fabric. The board is an independent agency that consists of 5 full-time commissioners with select skill sets, including experience in architecture, urban planning, and engineering, supported by a staff of 16 employees. Using their technical expertise and independent judgment, each commissioner scrutinizes every land use application with the utmost of care. Commissioners' review frequently involves analyzing intricate construction documents, financial statements, testimony from other government agencies, and site conditions gleaned through visits to the properties and neighborhoods at issue. The board staff of 16 to 18 employees currently manages 105 years of archives and pending applications currently in review. Under the direction of the board's executive director and deputy director, these applications are reviewed by 4 project managers and 1 director of environmental review. Second, as I mentioned, we support introduction number 2257. Variances, special permits, and other applications granted by the Board of Standards and Appeals employ safeguards and conditions to ensure that its decisions minimize any potential adverse effects on surrounding communities. The board's waivers of zoning and other regulations and conditions of approval are delineated in a set of board-approved architectural plans and in a written resolution, copies of which are retained by the applicant, forwarded to the Department of Buildings, and maintained in the board's archives. However, the board has seen numerous occasions where the property owner, neighbors, and government agencies are actually unaware that a property is subject to board jurisdiction. Frequently, a new owner will learn for the first time in perhaps a decade or more that the property is subject to a variance or a special permit upon receiving a violation for a zoning noncompliance because due diligence searches conducted prior to purchasing did not flag these property restrictions. Accordingly, the board should record its resolutions against the properties they affect in the office of the city register or the Richmond County clerk to ensure they become part of the title search process and to provide clarity to the public at large. This modest operational modification would greatly benefit property owners subject to board jurisdiction, the vast majority of which are small businesses, homeowners, and nonprofit organizations. But it would also help ensure that the board's safeguards and conditions are carried out, lowering enforcement costs and benefiting communities. I'm happy to take any questions and look forward to hearing ideas about improving the board's processes. Thank you again for this opportunity to testify.
Thank you so much, Chair. I want to recognize we also being joined by Councilmember Kalos. I only have 4 brief questions. I think this bill is very helpful and very straight up. But I wanted to ask you, what resources will be necessary for the board to submit decisions for publications in the appropriate public register?
So it's actually no additional resources necessary. The board actually only comes to a decision on maybe, let's just to throw out an estimate, say 10 cases a month. So that's about 10 at most 20 cases where there would be a resolution that would need to be recorded. Those are recorded on the city's ACRIS and on the Staten Island City Clerk's office digitally. And so it's easily done by a staff member who is already working on these resolutions.
Fantastic. Is it the committee's understanding that currently a property owner may not know their parcel of land is subject to a BSA decision into a violation is issued? Can you share how the BSA handles such a situation? Is the property owner held liable, or are there opportunities to rectify the issue?
So what happens is the Department of Buildings issues the violation, and it may, for example, the most common of which is our gas stations. Almost every gas station in New York City has received a variance or a special permit in its existence in order to be able to operate. Many property owners are not aware that it was a BSA decision to allow that, and they're, for example, located in residence districts. So somehow or other, Department of Buildings finds out and issues a violation for which, yes, there are penalties associated with it. And that's the first time where the property owner will now learn that they have to come to the BSA to rectify it. So the BSA is not involved in the Department of Buildings violations process. That's for DOB to deal with, but we accept these applications and work with the applicant to rectify the situation and extend the term of the special permit or variance as long as they can establish that they are still entitled to those waivers.
Thank you. I have two more questions, but I see Councilmember Yeager, he has a question, and then I'll come right back.
Okay.
Councilmember Yeager.
Time starts now.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good morning, Madam. Good afternoon, Madam Chair. Does the Board of Standards and Appeals currently have no legal authority to record its decisions with the county clerk in Richmond and the city register in the other 4 boroughs?
I'm going to actually defer to my general counsel, Kurt Steinhaus, on this one, if that's okay with you, Kurt.
Yes, that's our understanding, that this legislation would be necessary in order to codify the operations of recording BSA resolutions. As you would note, the Landmarks Preservation Commission has a specific provision in the administrative code that's analogous.
Okay. Do you maintain a list of properties at your agency that have had a BSA decision rendered with respect to it by address? Okay.
Yes,
So if a title company was to do a diligent title search for a property, they could simply, as part of that process, request the board to check its records. If 1 Center Street has any decisions rendered with respect to it, then you'd give them an answer in a day or 2?
So it actually goes like this. I have quite a lot of experience from my prior work life with title companies. The typical title company does not delve into Board of Standards and Appeals or city planning or Landmarks Preservation Commission decisions. They go to the Department of Finance and they look to see what's there and download that data. They go to the Department of Buildings to see if there are violations. They go to judgments to see if there are judgments, and then that's that. It's only very, very savvy counsel who might think to check at the other agencies whether there is something that's indicating a BSA or city planning or landmarks.
I appreciate all that, but that's the answer to a question. If I would have asked, are title companies necessarily always good at what they do, or do they commit malpractice from time to time? But the question that I asked is whether or not you maintain this list, and if a title company chose to make a search, would they be able to ask? And specifically, I'm referring to your answer that you gave before. For example, a gas station. If somebody is going to purchase something and a title company then, or actually you referred to this in your testimony, you mentioned people don't know what is affecting their property until after they purchase it. Well, then they have a claim against their title company. The title company certified free and clear title without referring to necessary encumbrance on the title, which is your decision. So they didn't do their job. I'm just trying to see, I find frequently here in this body, we pass laws that are solutions in search of problems. And, I try to err on the side of that. The city is operated quite well without us stepping ourselves in the middle of things and passing laws all the time. The only reason that we pass laws is because the charter requires us to meet twice a month. So I'm trying to figure out precisely what it is that this law why this law is necessary. I haven't been able to see from the committee report or from the sponsor's opening statement why it's necessary. I understand why it's not an entirely bad idea just don't see why it's necessary. And I
Okay.
still haven't heard why it's necessary. I'm not saying, Madam Chair, I'm not saying it's your job to try to tell us why it's necessary, but if you can, that would be great, because you've been chair for a while and you've never come before the council and said, you know, it would be great if you guys passed this law.
Okay. So step one, yes, of course, we maintain records. Anyone who has the, let's say, general knowledge about how the city operates and is, let's say, broadly versed enough can check on not only that on our website to see whether you can just put in the property's address or block and lot number into our website, and our resolutions are recorded back to, I think it's 1989, is that correct?
90.
Yeah, 90. So, but anything that was decided before that, that might have been in a state of incredible lapse, they would have to call our archive department and find out about that. So yes, of course, we maintain records. We're also required by, actually, it's, I think, legislation under Councilmember Kalos to have a do-it search. So there's the general database shows the existence of BSA cases on a map. Again, but only back to 1990, I believe, right? So it's only
1998.
1998, thank you. So there's only so much of a sweep that the database can do.
Time expired.
Sorry, does that mean we're done?
No, you can keep talking.
Okay. But in terms of the necessity for this, I've been actually, so just a little bit of background. I had this whiteboard installed in my office when I first became chair. And one of the first things on the whiteboard was to require the recording of BSA resolutions. And it took us up to this point to get up to that, right? So we've been talking with the law department and so on for a long time about this. And this was, I would have to say, maybe COVID gave us the opportunity to focus on this a little bit more, but it's been an essential ingredient for the BSA for a long time. And for example, Landmarks Commission, the Landmarks Commission records all of its designations against the property. So there's no such thing as a person with a landmarks designated property who's not aware of it as a result of a simple title search where all you do is go on ACRIS and you find out. So, and you know, the sad news is title searches are not as complete as you would like. And are they committing malpractice? That's for an ethics committee to decide. We're trying to help the property owner save a lot of money in violations, a lot of heartache, to be aware that they should be coming regularly for renewals. So we think this is actually essential and will really save small businesses from needless expense.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you so much, Councilmember Yeager. And I don't recall if I recognized already Councilmember Kalos. I don't see another question by any other colleagues. So let me continue with my last two. The bill allows for the BSA to post record of its decisions prior to the effective day of the bill, a quote, where it determines to be in the public interest, end quote. What types of past decision, if any, does the board anticipate posting? Approximately how long would it take? And what resources the board anticipate needing for this task?
Thank you. So obviously it's easier if we move forward with what we have in hand and record it as we go along. But once we learn how to effectively mount these decisions, our intention is to slowly work our way back to about 10 years so that all decisions in the last 10 years are eventually recorded against the property, because 10 years tends to be the sort of effective application of the BSA on properties. Before that, likely either they've been amended in the past or abandoned or something like that. So 10 years seems to be kind of the generally agreed time frame. And in terms of resources, no additional resources, as I said earlier.
Great. And just for the record, does intro 2257 as drafted provide the BSA with the sufficient authority to notice its decision in all publicly available databases typically used by property owner? Does the board intend to post decisions in additional places not provided for in the bill?
Kurt, you want to take that maybe?
Sure. So as drafted, we feel that this gives sufficient authority for the board to post its decisions in ACRIS and the Richmond County Clerk's Office. That is the current state of our policy goals right now.
Okay, great. Moderator, do we have anyone else? I don't see any hands raised.
I'm not seeing, but I can go ahead and give some instructions. Thank you, Chair Cabrera. I will now call on council members in the order that they have used the Zoom raise hand function. Council members, if you would like to ask a question at this time and you have not raised your hand, please do so now. You will have a total of 5 minutes to ask your question and receive an answer from the panelists. The Sergeant at Arms will keep a timer. We'll let you know when your time is up. Once I've called on you, please wait until the Sergeant has announced that you may begin before asking your question. Seeing no hands raised right now, I think we can, I'll turn it back to you, Chair.
Thank you so much, Madam Chair, and to your staff. Thank you. Thank you for the great work that you continue to do. When I look at all of you put together the years of experience, it just, you continue to do the robust work that is required from the BSA. You literally filled the gap, which I'm very proud of the work that you all have done. So thank you so much. And with that, I'll turn it back to the moderator for our next part of the hearing.
Thank you. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. I will now call on our second panel from the administration to give testimony on introduction number 2313. Mr. Hamed, you may begin your testimony when you are ready.
Great, thank you. Good afternoon, Speaker Corey Johnson, Chairman Fernando Cabrera, and members of the Government Operations Committee, and Council members Idanis Rodriguez and Oswald Faliz for co-sponsoring this legislation. Thank you for inviting us to appear before you today to discuss community and ethnic media and introduction 2313. My name is Brady Hamed, and I am the Deputy Director of Accountability and Administration for the Mayor's Office of Operations. I'd also like to recognize Jose Bayona, Director of Community and Ethnic Media at the Mayor's Press Office, for his leadership and organizing role in this important effort. On May 22nd, 2019, Mayor Bill de Blasio signed Executive Order 47, strengthening our commitment to community and ethnic media. This executive order directs all city agencies, the New York City Department of Education, New York City Health and Hospitals, and the New York City Housing Authority to spend at least 50% of their eligible individual annual print and digital advertising budgets with the city's community and ethnic media outlets starting in fiscal 2020. This commitment to community and ethnic media advertising spending is important not only to amplify city services to communities and neighborhoods that may have limited English proficiency or otherwise may be unaware of city government programs, but also to support New York City's small businesses and community and ethnic media news outlets, an effort that has been particularly important during the COVID-19 pandemic. There is a broad landscape of city agencies, offices, and partners that are instrumental in placing advertisements in community and ethnic media outlets citywide. Jose Bayona, Director of Community and Ethnic Media for the Mayor's Press Office, serves in a leadership role for this work. This role is foundational as a primary liaison with the community and ethnic media outlet partners and assisting agencies in developing advertising campaigns. This role is also important in maintaining the community and ethnic media directory posted publicly on the city's websites. The Mayor's Office of Operations is tasked with implementing the requirements of Executive Order 47. The Office of Operations is focused on the performance management aspect of the city agency's media advertising spending, working with the Mayor's Office of Data Analytics on analyzing the relevant data, issuing guidance documents, and hosting trainings with agencies to support their compliance with the executive order, collecting data in a quarterly cadence, and checking in with agencies to support them in meeting the 50% advertising spending target. The Office of Operations also reviews and approves agency requests for exemptions, petitions, and waivers on certain requirements as outlined in the executive order. Additionally, the Office of Operations reports on the data publicly each fiscal year. The Department of Citywide Administrative Services hosts a backdrop contract with two advertising firms, Miller and Greystone. These firms are provided with training and guidance on the requirements of the Executive Order 47. They help agencies place advertisements in community and ethnic media outlets and also regularly report advertising spending data to the Office of Operations. Finally, each agency has its own network of marketing and fiscal contacts that work to reach the 50% advertising spending target for the agency. For the purposes of Executive Order 47, community and ethnic media outlets are defined as a print or digital outlet that is created for the communities of people based on native language, race, color, gender, national origin, ethnicity, religion, sexual orientation, disability, or immigrant status, targets a discrete neighborhood or geographic region or populations that may or may not typically receive information from mainstream publications because of their exclusive use of foreign language, or falls within specifically tailored subject matter. To calculate agencies' spending toward the 50% advertising spend goal, the Office of Operations collects all ad spending data, both for mainstream and community and ethnic media, print and digital outlets. Collecting the full universe of print and digital advertising spend allows us to calculate how each agency is meeting the 50% community and ethnic media advertising spend goal. At this time, other forms of media, including social media, broadcast media like television and radio, mobile applications unaffiliated with a print and digital outlet, job boards, professional associations or networks, bus shelter ads, and other types of media are outside the scope of the executive order and are therefore excluded from the calculations. The Office of Operations regularly collects data on individual advertisement placements, both from agencies and directly from Miller and Greystone, the advertising firms mentioned previously. Operations collects all advertisement data on a quarterly basis in order to perform regular benchmarking with agencies throughout the year in an effort to meet the 50% advertising spending targets. Throughout the fiscal year, the Director of Community and Ethnic Media and the Office of Operations partner to maintain the Community and Ethnic Media Directory and work with agencies to reach a broad network of the outlets. There is also a regular process for communicating with agencies to review annual waivers for agencies with a negligible advertising spend, petitions for agencies to request for spending with an outlet that would typically be out of scope from compliance calculations to count positively toward community and ethnic media spending, and exemptions for a request for spend that typically counts negatively for compliance to be excluded from compliance calculations entirely, generally requested if the agency places ads in a mainstream outlet in order to meet other legal requirements. At the end of the fiscal year, Operations compiles this data and publishes it on its website and on the Open Data portal. Operations also has a partnership in place with the Craig Newmark Graduate School of Journalism, CUNY Foundation, on behalf of the Center for Community Media at CUNY to further support the joint commitment to community and ethnic media. In addition to the 2020 summary report published by the CUNY Center for Community Media, which utilizes data provided by the Mayor's Office of Operations, the city also works with the CUNY Center for Community Media to ensure lines of communication are open between outlets and key city agency marketing and press staff. The city has demonstrated strong progress in fulfilling the goals of Executive Order 47 and advertising city services to a diverse group of communities. In fiscal 2020, the first full fiscal year of the executive order, the city saw substantial spending on community and ethnic media outlets. 35 out of 40 eligible agencies, or 88% of agencies, met the 50% spending threshold. Citywide, $9.9 million out of the $11.8 million of eligible advertising spending was spent on community and ethnic media outlets. This represented 84% of spending, far outpacing the stated 50% goal. Compliance at both an individual agency and at citywide levels far surpassed our targets. The city was also able to communicate its programs and services with individuals who read community and ethnic media outlets and support those outlets in the process. This targeted communication was particularly important during the COVID-19 pandemic, as many community-based outlets served as key news sources for communities vulnerable to COVID-19. Moreover, in fiscal 2020, the city placed ads with 50 outlets for the first time ever, and increased advertising placements with more than 185 outlets. The city is committed to continuing this important push in future fiscal years. The Mayor's Office of Operations and the city are largely supportive of Introduction 2313 to create an Office of Ethnic and Community Media, which aligns with the values, goals, and accomplishments of the de Blasio administration in advertising critical city services to a diverse landscape of communities, including those with limited English proficiency. I'd like to close by thanking our external partners at the CUNY Center for Community Media for their guidance and support on this important initiative, and by thanking you, council members, for your leadership on this topic and hearing our testimony today. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And I want to take a moment to thank the mayor and to all the staff that made it possible for Executive Order 47 to take place. Because truly, we had an injustice taking place, institutional injustice into the executive order came into being. I wanted to ask, I have a few questions here, and then I'll turn it to my colleagues. I know the sponsor of the bill, we're seeking to codify the executive order through this bill. But I wanted to ask you, maybe I didn't get it right. Are there some agencies that did not meet the 50% threshold?
That is correct. 35 out of the 40 agencies did meet the 50% spending threshold, which means in fiscal year 2025, agencies that are participating did not meet the spending threshold.
And there's a particular reason why they didn't?
There's a variety of reasons for each of those agencies. We do regular benchmarking with all of the agencies to make sure that they are reaching those goals. And so when we see that an agency is not reaching the 50% advertising spending goal, we partner with the Director of Community and Ethnic Media and the agency to help get them on the right track. For a couple of the agencies that did not meet the goal, they have relatively small advertising budgets for fiscal year 2020. So just did not have much of an opportunity to correct that along the way in the fiscal year.
Would it have helped if you would have gotten them more funding? So then we could have an equitable disbursement of those funding towards media?
I can't speak to every agency's advertising budget, but I can say that it would definitely help to have more advertising budget for each of the agencies.
How do you know that these ads are actually, is there like an accountability system to making sure, I know you get a run of listing when the spots are put on, but is there someone that just do sporadic checks to making sure that they're actually being put on a certain time and in those channels?
Thank you for the question, council member. At this time, we don't have kind of a formal audit process to make sure that all of the agencies are placing those ads. However, what we do is we collect data from both our advertising firm, Miller and Greystone, and from the agency, and we are able to double check that data. And whenever there are discrepancies in the data, we frequently do desk research and do look up some of those advertisements, especially ones in question that you reference.
Does those consulting companies check to see if they actually got put on? And the reason I'm asking, I've seen it in at times that people put commercials that went to check those times and it actually was not put on by the TV station. So I just want to make sure that we get what we're paying for.
Yeah, I don't know what their kind of double checking process is. I'll look into it and get back to you.
Okay. Intro 2313 gives the mayor discretion on where to house the new Office of Ethnic and Community Media. Where would this office be housed?
I think we support the legislation as written that allows it to be housed in an office at discretion of the mayor. I think there's any number of appropriate organizations for the office to be housed in.
But for this year, I mean, the mayor will have a say where it will go, right?
Sure. Currently, Jose Bayona, the Director of Community and Ethnic Media, works for City Hall and the Mayor's Press Office, and the Mayor's Office of Operations supports the kind of performance management and data collection of those efforts. So I think having a report directly into City Hall, as the current director does, would be appropriate.
How many staff do you anticipate you're going to need? And do you anticipate using existing staff or hiring new staff? And at what cost?
We haven't yet had the opportunity to think through all of the operational elements of this. Right now, the administration of Executive Order 47, including the funding for Jose Bayona's role, the Director of Community and Ethnic Media, the staff at the Mayor's Office of Operations, and the staff at agencies who are working on marketing contacts are already budgeted. So we do not expect a significant budget need to administer the new Office of Ethnic and Community Media.
Okay, great. Executive Order 47 on 2019 required the Mayor's Office to develop and maintain approved lists of community and ethnic media outlets for city agencies to use at the discretion for placing ads. The list, as you know, posted on the City Open Data portal includes 233 outlets. Meanwhile, the list posted on the Mayor's Office of Media and Entertainment website includes 283 outlets. Can you share with us which one's the correct number pursuant to EO 47? And why do the open data and MOM have two different lists?
That's a good question. I'd have to look into that discrepancy specifically. But we do update the list with the Mayor's Office of Media and Entertainment regularly, and that is an accurate list of 283 outlets.
That's 50. That's a substantial. You think someone just forgot to post them up, or?
We prioritize updating it with the Mayor's Office of Media and Entertainment website. We know that's where most people are accessing this data. And so, yes, there's likely a lag of our office updating the directory on the Open Data portal.
And as you may know, CUNY Newmark, J School Center for Community Media has also reported that they are working with the Mayor's Office to consolidate their list of 300 plus outlets with the Mayor's list. When would this list be consolidated?
We are in regular contact with the Center of Community and Media, and we have exchanged notes on many of the outlets that are not yet on our directory. We are continuing to look at those outlets and determine whether or not they're appropriate for our directory. We will likely be updating it sometime in the next coming months.
Coming months, like 2 months, 5 months?
Probably by the end of the summer.
By the end of the summer, that's great. What criteria do you use? And who ultimately makes the decision? But very interested in knowing the criteria for determining which outlets get the funding, and how do you measure success?
That's a great question. I think ultimately this is the responsibility of Jose Bayona, the Director of Community and Ethnic Media. He is responsible for determining which outlets are on the Community and Ethnic Media directory. We are always evaluating which agencies are spending with new outlets that have not yet been spent or included on our directory. And when we do find that there is spending with those outlets that are appropriate to be included, we add them to our directory and our compliance calculations.
Yeah, but when I talk about criteria, do you have like a rubric that you use? How do we know that it is going to the right outlets? Like, look, during COVID-19, I saw in certain channels very few, and some of them no advertisement at all from the city. So I'm talking about the ethnic media, and I'm just curious, the person who's sitting behind the desk, they say, oh, we're gonna go this way, we're gonna go this way. Is there a rubric that says, this is what we need to do and this is why?
Yeah. In general, in order to make our directory, community and ethnic media outlets have to meet the definition that we described earlier. They have to focus on a specific race, demographic breakdown, neighborhood, and that's how they get onto our directory. And we prefer if the outlets are based in New York City. The agencies have discretion over which outlets their advertisements are placed in. And if they are working with Miller and Greystone, there is expertise there on making sure that those advertisements are placed in a variety of outlets, including those that the agency may be trying to target with a given program. So operations is only managing the data collection compliance at large. Each of the agencies directs the spending of their own advertising budget.
I started by complimenting, and I'll continue to do that for this executive order. It really brought, we're in the right direction and bringing balance. But you'll hear from some of the reporters that I see here, from some outlets here that I happen to know personally, for example, in Dominican media, that they have felt that they were largely ignored this last year in terms of getting some of those fundings to go through those programming because they reach a certain sector of society that, to be honest with you, nobody else is. And that could be in different, we could go around in different sectors. So I will hope that we will have a better way that is more objective to be able to make these selections so we could give a better answer on why someone selected, someone are not in the future. With that, let me turn it over to our wonderful moderator. I know there's some council members that have some questions, and I come back for my final questions. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Chair Cabrera. I will now call on council members in the order they have used the Zoom raise hand function. Council members, if you'd like to ask a question, you would not raise your hand, please do so now. You will have a total of 5 minutes to ask your question and receive an answer from the panelists. Sergeant at Arms will keep a timer and will let you know when your time is up. Once I have called on you, please wait until the sergeant has announced that you may begin before asking your question. We will first hear from Councilmember Rodriguez before hearing from Councilmember Yeager.
Time starts now.
It's difficult to be sitting here and listening to, all the great things that have been happening, placing on and spending in all the ethnic community media. When you represent a district, in my case in Northern Manhattan, that none of the any media have been able to get any investment. And in the list of participants, you will hear another translator, they will do the job. From many of them, where the city has never approached them and say, we respect your contribution. We want to invest on you guys so that you are also available to connect your readers, your audience to the services. Our people pay taxes. They can speak different language, but they work in deli. They work in supermarket. They work in bodega. They're raising their family. I'm happy to see some of the publishers, but I also would like to, hear from you. What is the process on how those two that you mentioned, and Miller and the other, were used to select them as the one that we rely on for them to go out and connect the services with the ethnic community media? How many have they gone to Northern Manhattan, to the South Bronx, go and meet with the Jewish community, with the Asian community, and check where are those local newspapers there. So, of course, my daughter 8 and 14, I cannot promise them that either the grandchildren, we believe in a society of equal opportunity, because we have inherited a culture where this is all about who control the resources. And I think, however, we will continue moving forward. I'm happy to be working with the mayor, and I know that his executive order, move our city in the right direction. But it's not enough. When I read the article in the New York Times from CUNY, I mean, for me, this was about were CUNY aware? Did CUNY know that there was a bill already introduced to create this office? Have they approached and tried to figure out what was the plan of expanding it? What is Miller doing? What is the other publisher doing to connect with the local ethnic media, regardless if they are Latino, if they're Asian, if they're Jewish, if they're Anglo? They have been a group of people that for decades they've been controlling those advertising. And we had to break that wall. Nosotros tenemos que entender de que aquellos de ustedes que tienen un medio, un periódico, un programa de televisión, el cable de media hora, un blog, ustedes tienen una audiencia de personas que pagan impuestos. Cuando hablen ahorita, no dejen ninguno de ustedes de hablar. Hablen en español, hablen en creole, hablen en el idioma que a ustedes sea más fácil y que se les traduzcan. Y compartan la experiencia de ustedes, los años que ustedes tienen, el servicio que ustedes hagan, y demanden de que la ciudad, con la oficina de Ethnic Community Media, lo incluya ustedes también cuando se hacen toda la campaña de UPK, de COVID, de no fumar, de salud, de Vision Zero. So I'm happy again, and I want to thank Paul Ochoa, Emma Wolf, Jason Goldman, a speaker, Eric Adams. We're working together with this bill since day one. A lot of respect from Jose Bayona. But when you mention Jose Bayona 20 times, it means about, okay. So is he so empowered? Does he control all those resources? And I definitely trust and believe in the leadership of Jose Bayona. But I do believe that this office should definitely bring the necessary changes. Cannot be a two-main publisher that control for decades where we publish those ads. So I'm happy, but I know a little bit frustrated on how we got here. And I hope again that this office will play a major role, millions and millions of dollars. I chair the Committee of Transportation. I can tell you how many dollars the DOT has invested
Time expired.
in the public media, in the public newspaper, TV in my community. I know how much? Zero. That's unacceptable.
Thank you so much, Council Member. Any other council members?
I'm not seeing any hands right now. We had Councilmember Yeager on deck. Not sure if he's no longer here. So I'm going to go back to you, Chair.
Thank you so much. Let me come back to a couple of more questions. The Office of Ethnic and Community Media will be required to provide at least one annual training for city agency employees responsible for advertising. Will this training be developed by the office or an external organization? What will this training involve? Will this training have a cost? And if so, how much?
Thank you, and I do just want to respond to say thank you to Councilmember Rodriguez for your comments. I do think that the creation of this Office of Ethnic and Community Media is going to be helpful in accomplishing those goals. To speak to training specifically, the city has conducted 2 trainings so far with the agencies since the creation of the executive order, and has been involved in how to use the directory, compliance with reporting the data, and showcasing some of our more successful agency partners and how they've been developing ad campaigns. While I imagine that this training would be developed at the discretion of the future Office of Ethnic and Community Media, and we haven't yet fully thought through it operationally, there is a path forward to doing it within city government.
As you know, the bill will require city agents to spend at least 50% of their advertising budget in ethnic and community media, but it will allow the Office of Ethnic and Community Media to grant waivers from this requirement. For what reasons do you anticipate a waiver might be granted, aside from the need for certain notices to be posted in certain places pursuant to city and state law?
That is the primary reason that we have granted waivers in the past. I would say the overwhelming majority of them are for legal requirements.
Got it. What contracts does the city currently have with an ad placement firms? What types of advertisement are they each responsible for? And what is the time frame for the current contracts?
Sorry, what was the question again?
Sure. What contracts does the city currently have with ad placement firms, the two firms? What types of advertising are they each responsible for? And what is the time frame for the current contracts?
I'd have to get back to you on a couple of specifics, but there are the two backdrop contracts with both Miller and Greystone. They both work across all types of media landscape for the purposes of Executive Order 47. We are tracking only print and digital compliance spend, but the agencies do work with those advertising firms for other advertising outlets as well. And a couple of the agencies have relationships with different advertising firms that are not Miller and Greystone.
Since EO 47, has the city worked with its contracted out firms to ensure the requirement that half of agencies' ad budgets go to community media is met? And you answered part of that already. And also, since EO 47, has the administration seen city agency marketing managers take a more active role in community media ad placements now that the city maintains an community media directory?
Yes, we have seen active participation with Miller and Greystone in their administering of advertising placements, and they have been coached and the Community Ethnic Media Directory and are an active partner in helping us reach that 50% advertising spending goal. And also we have seen an incredible uptake with individual agency, press, marketing, and fiscal contacts. We engage a wide variety of contacts at each of the agencies, and they have been very energized and excited about the opportunity to advertise to different populations.
Thank you. Does the administration have a prediction of the expected spending on FY22 on ethnic and community media outlets?
We're just now finishing the second full fiscal year and beginning to package and analyze our data for how we performed in fiscal 2021. We do not yet have an understanding of our advertising budget citywide for fiscal year 2022, but are hoping to adapt to the changing landscape right now.
Do you think outside of COVID-19, is it going to be something compatible to what we saw last year? Again, outside of that budget for COVID-19, something compatible?
It's a good question, Council Member. I think that a significant portion of the city's advertising budget for the last year was focused on COVID-19 response, health and safety measures, and recovery. I think we will continue to see a lot of targeted advertisements for COVID-19 recovery and vaccinations reaching community and ethnic media outlets and the broader landscape. Beyond that response, it is up to each individual agency and their own budgeting process to advertise.
And can you provide us a breakdown of the proportion of ad buys by language and or community demographic for fiscal 2020? Roughly what percentage of the city's spending on television and radio advertising goes towards outlets with 5 or fewer staff? And are there any obstacle that will prevent the city from significantly increasing this percentage?
Thanks, council member. I don't have information on some of the demographic breakdowns of the different outlets we're reaching or on the television and radio that meet the 5 or fewer employees definition. What I can provide are some information on the language breakdown of ads placed. We place advertisements in eligible community and ethnic media outlets in a variety of languages, a couple dozen different languages, including English. The top 5 languages other than English that we are placing advertisements in are Spanish, Chinese, including Mandarin and Cantonese, Korean, and Haitian Creole.
Do you have a percentage breakdown? Like, for example, 20% Spanish, 30% Mandarin?
Yep. We spend 12% of our advertising spend in Spanish, just about 8% of our advertising spend in Chinese, and around 3% of our advertising spend in Korean and Haitian Creole.
Great. And I'll just forgot to mention one question. Are there any approved outlets certified NWBEs? And so roughly, what's the proportion?
We don't have the information at our fingertips of which of the outlets are MWBEs, but we can get back to you with more information on that. It's something we're interested in researching as well.
Can you take a calculated guess? I mean, is it few? Is it usually something around 50%? What do you?
I hesitate to take a calculated guess, but I would say given just the wide variety of the directory that we have and the community outlets that we are reaching, I imagine it's fairly high.
Okay, great. Fantastic. Let me turn it back to the moderator. I believe that we have a second round of questions.
Yes, I'm seeing Councilmember Rodriguez. You can speak when ready.
Time starts now.
No, I want to thank Hamid, Brother Hamid, for being here. And I want to keep it positive because I know that we are moving in the right direction on not only identifying challenges that we have so far, but also giving credit to Mayor de Blasio. Nobody else has done what he did. So Hen and his team, and Jose Bayón, everyone, they've been trying to look at how we can do better. However, we cannot be shy when it comes to not seeing the reality, and that's what I hope that we will address as we will create that permanent office. Do you have the numbers on? And of course, when you look at the percentage, this is about not only on this administration. The administration has made progress, but when you look about 29% of New York City population are Latinos, and 27% are Black, and 15% are Asian. So at some point, whatever we do, from leadership at City Hall, from investment on women and minority contract, to investing in media, we should use those percentages and make people accountable to commit. And that's what I say. I hope that Miller and the other publisher, they will be testifying today because they're the one making all that money. So I hope that, first of all, I'm sure that they knew that this hearing was taking place. And I'm sure that they should testify about how they've been visiting this community, how it came out that there's no Latino in charge of the Millers and others who are also responsible to lead, the effort to put those ads, to invest those dollars. But again, for me speaking, coming from my heart on the frustration, knowing at the same time, recognizing at the same time that here you were here from, El Diario, Impacto Latino, the Queens and Javier's and many others. They were here from, my brother who they were speaking in Spanish because that's the language they speak. And they don't know how to navigate all those procurement process. And that's why it's so important to advance with this. But can you give us the dollars? How much money did the city invest last year on advertising?
On total advertising?
Yes.
Well, so for print and digital outlets.
Everything on advertising. Yeah.
Everything. I probably have it on one of my spreadsheets here. I think our total advertising spending in fiscal 20 was just over $29 million.
You know how much the Miller and the other two publishers control?
I don't have that at hand.
But I'm sure it's more than 12 million. You know what I mean? I know that they have the biggest pie. And that's why I would like to hear from them. And again, I'm looking at them as potential partner too. I give people a chance for people to look at it and share that information. So, you know, lo que estoy diciéndole, estamos hablando de 28 millones de dólares que se invirtieron el año pasado en advertising. Estamos hablando que en la comunidad latina invirtieron aproximadamente un 12%. Se hicieron advertising. Cuando nosotros somos el 29%. Cuando la ciudad es 27% afroamericana y es 15% asiática. Entonces, hoy de nuevo le estoy dando la gracia también al Chief Staff porque está testificando y porque ha dicho que hay una disposición de que la alcaldía está lista para trabajar con nosotros para pasar este proyecto de ley. Pero las voces, los rostros de los latinos, de los asiáticos, de los judíos, de los que están aquí para testificar son muy importantes. Estos días son cruciales para que ustedes sean todos parte de esta iniciativa, hacer el caso de por qué tenemos que pasar este proyecto de ley. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you so much. Moderator, do we have any other council members who would like to speak or ask a question?
I'm seeing a hand from Councilmember Darma Diaz.
Time starts now.
I will definitely be brief. I just want to thank my colleagues, Cabrera and Rodriguez, for the effort that you're putting forth here today. Definitely coming from a high number of constituents that happen that are Latino and knowing the struggles that they have with communication and the media. I'm empowered by your passion and your voices. And I also want to further compliment Councilman Rodriguez for speaking to the point that the administration is finally acknowledging our place in society. So while we thank the administration for acknowledging us, it doesn't mean that the fight doesn't continue. Para los colegas que están ahí presentes, que van a testificar hoy, como ha dicho el concejal Rodríguez, no temen en hablar con pasión, en inglés, en español, en patuá, como sea que tengan que hablar para poder demostrar su agonía y su proceso. Thank you. I'm handing it back to you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Councilmember Diaz. Appreciate your word, as always. Moderator, anybody else?
I'm not seeing any hands right now. So if there are no further questions, I think we can move on to the public.
Thank you so much. Again, I want to thank the administration. Thank you for making an institutional, seldom when you can make an institutional change through an executive order, and now it's going to be codified into law as we're looking forward to passing this bill and moving it forward. I want to thank the administration. I want to thank you as the Chief of Staff for all the work that has been put forth in making sure that we have a more equitable approach to dealing with all these advertising dollars. We're not there yet. We're not where we used to be, but we're not where we need to be there yet. But we're moving in the right direction. And one of the hardest things to get done is to get started. And so I appreciate all the effort. I appreciate all of the administration seeing the value, actually, because at the end of the day, it's the value that we see in making this a reality. And so with that, we're ready, I believe, to move to the public.
Thank you. We will now turn to public testimony. I'd like to remind everyone that unlike our typical council hearings, we will be calling individuals one by one to testify. Each panelist will be given 3 minutes to speak. Please begin once the sergeant has started the timer. Council members who have questions for a particular panelist should use the Zoom raise hand function, and I will call on you after the panelist has completed their testimony. For panelists, once your name is called, a member of our staff will unmute you and the Sergeant at Arms will set the timer and give you a go-ahead to begin. Please wait for the Sergeant to announce that you may begin before delivering your testimony. I would now like to welcome Kamlesh Mehta, followed by Gail Smith, and then followed by Javier Castaño.
Time starts now.
Hello, everyone. Thank you very much for taking an important issue of the ethnic media. Truly speaking, without the support of New York City, the ethnic media will not survive, even though there is a population of more than 3 million people. And not only Spanish or Bengali or English or Spanish or other languages, it is very important that the ethnic media keep getting support from the city. So the community which doesn't speak English, they can also get the message, they can learn about the project, about the developments, what is happening in the New York City, about the laws, so many things. We must make sure that there is an ethnic media office in New York City itself. And it is also managed by the ethnic media itself, because they know what we need, how we have to get into our communities. So if the city opens a specific office or outlet for the ethnic media, that will be a great help. During the COVID, most of the ethnic media would have closed if it was not supported by the city. So for the benefit of New York City and the citizens of New York City, the ethnic community, which is more than 3 million people, we must have an office in New York City for the ethnic media. Thank you very much for your support.
Thank you. Gail Smith, you may begin.
Time starts now.
Good afternoon, Chair Cabrera and members of the Committee on Government Operations. Thank you for the opportunity to testify for this very important legislation. I am Gail Smith Carrillo. I am the publisher of Impacto Latino. My father, Carlos Carrillo, an immigrant from Argentina, started publishing Impacto in 1967 to give voice to the growing Latino immigrant community, particularly the growing Dominican community, but regardless of geographic heritage and touching all 5 boroughs. Today, our mission continues to be the same. I'm here to express to you the critical importance of ethnic media to a city like New York City that has the largest number of ethnicities in the country. New York City has an extraordinarily diverse population. Just Latinos represent nearly 30% of the population, according to census data. Latinos culturally keep their language. There are significant proportions of non-English speaking households in New York City, as in many parts of the country. There is also a large percentage of the Latino population that is technology deficient, either because of affordability or lack of technical knowledge. For many in our community, newspapers are a lifeline. Ethnic media connects migrants that are culturally and linguistically diverse with their own local communities. It reaches 55% of the city's population. On a more practical level, ethnic media are essential sources of information. We provide information on city services, health, migrants' rights, and other types of information to live and thrive in New York City. We inform and educate the community on voting systems, aged care services, and others, and provide information that is attuned to the particular needs of our audience. And let me make a most important point. The information we provide is verifiable information, not information like some information found on social media. This is a service that mainstream media are largely unable to provide with their focus on a broad audience. But without it, our community potentially miss out on important information. We are valuable allies to city government. We communicate available services provided, and most importantly, we explain how they work. This is particularly crucial in the Latino community, given the high fear that exists and reluctance to tap into the services. We capture the subtleties and nuances that one-size-fits-all government communication campaigns cannot provide. We are in a unique position to effectively communicate government initiatives
Time
in
expired.
language. So it's perfectly understood. Can I continue? I have about one more minute.
30 seconds.
Okay. The COVID pandemic highlighted the crucial importance of ethnic media. We provided the specific educational information for our communities. We work hand in hand with city agencies to educate our communities. But as this common knowledge, news platforms are facing an existential crisis. We need New York City's support to continue with our mission to service our communities and continue to work hand in hand with New York agencies. I want to thank Council Member Idanis Rodriguez. Thank you for your passionate support. Speaker Johnson, Brooklyn President Eric Adams, and Council Member Feliz for introducing legislation for this council. To this council. And I want to thank also Jose Bayona and the de Blasio administration for all they have done to support ethnic media, in particular for the executive order, which is the foundation for this legislation. I respectfully urge this committee to approve this legislation. Without it, all of the New York City diverse communities will suffer. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sorry about going over.
That's okay. We understand.
Thank you. I'd like to now call on Javier Castaño. After Javier, we will hear from George Fiala, followed by Eddie Heredia.
Time starts now.
Hi. Since I arrived in New York City 37 years ago, I have always worked as a reporter and photographer of news events. I have been editor-in-chief of El Diario La Prensa and Hoy Nueva York, and I have a master's degree in journalism from Columbia University. I have written extensively about immigration, housing, employment, education, culture, and crime. I know New York very well, and I recognize the importance of the ethnic media in the city as diverse as this. But I don't want to talk about these facts, but you know these facts. I am here to testify because the ethnic media is being used and abused for too long. At this time, the first time that I testified in the City Council was on January 28, 2015. Councilman Carlos Menchaca called representatives of the ethnic media to testify about the El Diario La Prensa going down the drain. At that time, we heard many promises, but nothing happened to benefit the ethnic media and the Latino press. On December 11, 2014 and February 16, 2016, Melissa Mar Viverito, then president of the City Council, brought members of the ethnic media to City Hall and promised to help us with money and resources. But again, nothing happened. Everything started changing on May 22nd, 2019, when Mayor Bill de Blasio signed the Executive Order 47 to benefit the ethnic media. Each New York City agency has to give at least 50% of the advertising budget to print and online ethnic media. During these times of big corporation, anti-immigrant law, and the pandemic, this money is keeping the ethnic media alive and thriving. The input of Jose Bayona as Director of Community and Ethnic Media at the New York City office has been the key of this initiative. And now, Corey Johnson, President of the City Council, Eric Adams, Brooklyn Borough President, Councilman Idanis Rodriguez, and Oswald Felix want to take this initiative to a higher level. An executive order can be killed by the new mayor. This is why they want to create the New York City agency to connect and give advertising dollars to the ethnic media. I welcome this initiative because it is the first in the United States. It will be an example for other cities to emulate. I support this initiative because it will help the bottom line of the ethnic media. And I support this initiative because democracy and freedom of information with benefits. The government has given media big corporations
Time expired.
for too long, and they seldom reach out to our community. I'm about to finish. This New York City agency for the ethnic media will help balance the inequalities of this city. It will help solidify democracy in an era that we are talking about news deserts, digital divide, the lack of civil engagement, and low voting participation. As director of Queens Latino, these issues that we are paying attention in our platform. This is an initiative of New York City, and no political party or educational institution as CUNY should take credit for it. It is not for publication based outside of the city. Thank you for giving me this opportunity.
Thank you.
Thank you. I will now call on George Fiala. You may begin when you are ready.
Time starts now.
Thank you. Yes, I want to repeat what was just said about, we also testified at Carlos Menchaca's hearing 5 years ago, and it was only until the last year or two that we finally see some support from city government. Now, why should a local newspaper, I publish, you might know, the Red Hook Star Review, it's a community paper in a part of New York, part of Brooklyn that has both a upscale part of it and a public housing part of it. And we write for both communities. And it's actually makes for a very dynamic newspaper. What I wanted to say was that also, I want to say that Jose has been very good to us. In other words, we went to visit him. I took my advertising manager, and he was very solicitous, and he explained us the program, and we get our ads from Miller Advertising. And we used to get about one a year. Whenever there was a hurricane season starting, we got one ad from, whatever agency tells you to worry about hurricanes. That was just one. This last issue was unbelievable. We had about 8 ads, half for ranked choice voting and half for to tell people, elderly, young people, to get their vaccinations. It's tremendous. We don't charge that much for the ads, but people, when they've been seeing this paper for 10 years or 11 years, and what we're selling in the advertising portion of it is the credibility that we get because we're a community voice. And I believe that people take the ads in the local paper more seriously. So when they see an ad for ranked choice voting, they'll read it. Just like they'll read the story. Here we have an article about the, the local council race. I guess what I'm trying to say is that this is a wonderful program. I've always thought that, local newspapers can be a conduit for not only news from the city, but also paid commercial messages. I'm not saying that we deserve it or don't deserve it, but it helps me pay writers. I have a nice staff that enjoys writing, and we're part of the city's commerce. Let me think if I have anything else to say. We write about the Board of Standards and Appeals. We write about the mayoral race. We write about the Gowanus rezoning, all topics that we help educate the public in order to understand better the world around them. And so anyway, I'm very thankful for the city's use of our pages, and I hope it continues. And I know there's a new mayor next year.
Time expired.
Good luck to whoever wins. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. We will now hear from Eddie Heredia. We have an interpreter for Mr. Heredia. So I'm going to call the interpreter to introduce himself.
Sí, voy a hacerlo en español. Ahí está llamando al intérprete.
Time starts now.
Puede empezar ahora.
Ok, vamos, ok. Primeramente, agradecer la iniciativa de lo que está haciendo, porque eso es una forma de que estamos llegando cada vez más a que podamos resolver algunas de las cosas de la que nosotros necesitamos acá. Quiero saber si van a ir traduciendo o cómo.
Yes, sí, ellos van a traducir. You could translate.
En el caso...
Un momentito, por favor. Esto no, if you could hold the clock for a second. Can you hear interpreter what he's sharing?
You're fine. Can everyone hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Now we can hear you.
Okay. So first I want to thank everyone for the initiative that's being brought forward, because this gives us a way to resolve a lot of the issues that affect us. Adelante, señor.
Ok. En mi caso, por ejemplo, yo, igual que muchos, tenemos programas de televisión que llegamos a una comunidad principalmente dominicana.
Permíteme. In my case, like many others, we have a TV shows that communicate to the communities, much like mine, the Dominican community. Adelante, señor.
Durante ya más de 20 años estamos haciendo estos programas que le están llegando principalmente a una comunidad que muchos de ellos no hablan el inglés, hablan español, que es su principal lengua.
Permítame. During these 20 years, we've been making this kind of content, TV shows that reaches our communities to people that specifically don't speak English. Adelante.
Y lo que hemos estado inclusive en momentos cuando la Torre Gemela cayeron, también estuvimos ahora con la pandemia haciendo programas en vivo, informando a la comunidad de lo que está pasando en el momento.
And also, in fact, we've been creating content since the time of the Twin Towers, and as well as during the pandemic, doing live shows communicating to our community what was happening. Adelante.
También tenemos que resaltar que tenemos un equipo profesional que muchos de ellos que han salido de la universidad, tanto son periodistas, muchos son locutores, y también tenemos equipos que son bastante caros y sin embargo no nos llegan los recursos para seguir invirtiendo en hacer un trabajo de más calidad.
And in the present time, we have a team of professionals that all came from the university, journalists, also like spokespeople, and this has been very costly, very expensive. However, we haven't been given any of the resources that the city has given out to other media groups. Adelante.
Tenemos que sí darle el crédito tanto al presidente del condado del Bronx, Eric Adams, como también al Corey Johnson y Dani Rodríguez y otros que se han preocupado por lograr acercarnos a dónde están los recursos.
And we would like to give credit to like the borough president, Mr. Johnson, Mr. Councilman Rodriguez, and many others that have been concerned with this whole fact and have helped us to find some help to achieve these resources, to find out where they are. Adelante.
Sin embargo, lo que estamos solicitando ahora es que se nos tome en cuenta para las distintas campañas que se están haciendo, para que eso ayude a que los trabajos que estamos haciendo puedan llegar a esa comunidad que nos está viendo día por día.
And what we're asking for in this moment is to be taken account or to think about us when you're developing these new campaigns in the search to being able to reach all these other communities. Adelante.
Que también necesitan que tanto la información que lleguen tanto de la publicidad que sea en español, que le llegue a esa gente, pero que también una facilidad de cómo llenar la documentación y todos los mecanismos que hay que hacer para poder que esas cuentas puedan llegar a nosotros.
Accounts reach us. And also to get the required information needed for whatever publicity is being done or any ads in Spanish, as well as an ease in how to fill out the documentation or whatever mechanisms are required so as to be able to obtain these resources. Adelante.
Y nada, agradecerle a todos los que están trabajando en esto para que esto sea una realidad y que podamos ya en un futuro no tener que tener estas conversaciones, sino que podamos sentirnos felices de que esta reunión de hoy esté dando resultados mañana.
And other than that, just to thank everyone for all the work, all the hard work they have been doing to try to make this a reality, so that way this no longer has to be a conversation. It would be something that has already happened in the past, and that happily the resources will become available and we could just continue with the work altogether. Thank you.
No, gracias, y también agradecerle también al concejal Idanis, tanto a Ariadna, tanto a Corey Johnson, tanto también al concejal Cabrera. Al concejal Cabrera también, que también está poniendo su granito de arena para que esto sea posible.
And also to give thanks to the council people, Idanis, Johnson, Cabrera, for everything they have done, from starting from the speck of sand, so that everything could eventually be done.
Time expired.
Se venció el tiempo.
Okay.
Gracias.
Thank you. We will now hear from Anthony Ibarria, followed by Caroline Pimentel, followed by Abu Taher. Anthony Ibarria, you may begin when the sergeant calls in.
Time starts now.
Thank you. Can everyone hear me? Okay. I basically echo everything that all of you are saying. And I myself understand that when the Executive Order 47 was made, it helped all of us. What I did is I reinvested that money in our newspaper, and we created a page, an information page that was called Nueva York es mi ciudad. And we initiated content for people, our readers, to be able to read all the community events within the city and the happenings in the city. As the general manager of the largest ethnic medium, El Especialito, I am so excited and so enthusiastic about this initiative. Why? Hopefully it passes. Why? Because our community needs to feel empowered. Our community needs to feel important. Our community needs to feel like they are part of the city. Our community needs to know that City Hall is counting on them and they have a voice. With this initiative will do just that. And it's something that was lacking in other administrations. So I thank de Blasio and I thank the City Council to continue doing this. Speaking to the ethnic community and the language that they understand and the language that they feel comfortable with is just what they need, and it's just what they want. The Hispanic communities that I represent is vital to the growth of the city of New York, and making them feel part of the same is just a win-win for everybody. I personally truly feel that this initiative is a huge step forward for the city and for the Hispanic community at large, and all the publishers and all the media who caters to all the other ethnic media. So I'd like to thank all of you for the opportunity for me to expressing my opinions and my thought. Thank you.
Thank you. We will now call on Caroline Pimentel. You may begin when the sergeant calls time.
Starts now.
Hi, how are you, everyone? My name is Caroline Pimentel. I represent El Corazón La Medicina, Otion Production. And for me, it's very important that the city support our channels, because like my mother, she doesn't speak English. She likes to watch those kind of channels so they understand. And whatever ads that you send from the city, is especially go for our community, the Spanish community or the other countries that are here. But I'm representing right now, especially the Spanish one, the one that doesn't speak English. So it's very important that we share for everybody in every country too that are here in the United States. Thank you.
Thank you. We will now hear from Abu Taher.
Time starts. I'm sorry. Yeah,
Hello,
time starts now.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for giving us opportunity. I thank Mr. Kobara, the chair, and your wonderful, as you mentioned, a wonderful moderator, and Speaker Corey Johnson. My name is Abu Taher. I'm the editor of the weekly Bangla Patrika, this newspaper, which established in 1996. And since then, it is publishing every week. It's almost 26 years now. And also we started a television called Time Television in 2014, 24-hour full TV station to serving the community, the Bangladeshi community in the US. Bangladeshi community is one of the most fast-growing community in New York City, as you know. So when I came in this country in 1992, I was a journalist. And I work with the newspaper. I'm just giving a little bit of background to understand the council members, what's the importance of the community media, and also how the community media was with city council and how the days is going right now. So I remember when we came, we were in the newspaper, but there was no connection at all with city council, with ethnic media, nothing, zero. And I think end of 1990, after 1996, there is an organization formed called IPA, Independent Press Association. I was one of the members of the press association, and we raised our first voice that, okay, we have to be part of city, and it is not that the one media was going to get the opportunity, they will attend the press. Even we don't get the press invitation for the press conference at that time. Absolutely detached from city council. I'm talking about end of 1990. Then the Independent Press Association cannot sustain. There is another organization formed called New York City Community Media Alliance. They work with all the ethnic media, raise the voice. We start the bargain with New York City Council, and then it start to move. And then New York City Community Media Council, Media Alliance, they can't sustain them. Then they hand over to all this thing to, as Mr. Hamad mentioned, to CUNY, J School, with their ethnic media department. They build up an ethnic media department. Anyway, so what I was one of the person who, as my colleague mentioned, that in New York City Council hearing 5 years ago, we are working day and night. The ethnic media is very important for New York City. New York City, since the United States have the immigration system, the people are coming, and almost all the generation who are here came here.
Time expired.
Can I stay another few minutes, another 1 minute?
Yes.
Okay. So what I said, the ethnic media is very important. About more than 60 million Americans, they are absolutely depend on the community media, especially the New York City, who are the hub of the immigrant community. And as I mentioned, what is the importance of the ethnic media? Say about Time Television, which we 24-hour TV. Last year, March 17, when the pandemic came, from that day to now, every day 1 hour, so 9 to 10 p.m. and serving the Bangladeshi community, one of the worst victim of COVID-19. About more than 300 people has been lost their lives by this, COVID-19. And there was no one. They was confused. They are scared what they're supposed to do. So the ethnic media, Time Television, Bangla Patrika, they provide all the information. They stand behind of the community because they don't understand New York Times. They don't understand the other. The mainstream media, they are depend on their ethnic community media in their language. So I think it's very important, and I'm urging the city council member who are here to, the executive order or build up a new department where they can take care and understand the importance of ethnic media. It is very important. It is life, line of the community living in New York City. Thank you so much, Mr. Kubra. Thank you so much, the others, council members.
Thank you so much for sharing. Before we move forward, I want to pass on, as you know, I'm the chair of this committee, but I'm going to pass the baton to Council Member Rodriguez, and he will be sharing the rest of today's hearing.
Thank you, Chair. And the only thing that I would say to the participant, we're going to be also stay with the time that is given by the moderator, because we also have another meetings coming out after this hearing.
Thank you, Chair. We will now hear testimony from Manuel Ruiz, followed by Kaushik Ahmed, followed by Kevin Boyle. Manuel, you may begin when the sergeant calls time.
Time starts now.
It looks like we do not have a microphone associated with Mr. Ruiz. We will come back to you. I will move to Kaushik Ahmed, followed by Kevin Boyle.
Time starts now.
Hi, everybody. Thank you, Councilman Cabrera, Councilman Rodriguez, and others for speaking in favor of the ethnic media. My name is Kaushik Ahmed. I publish weekly Bengali newspaper since 1991, and we are running now 31 years. And this newspaper is also for Bangladesh community. As you know, the Bangladesh community, I should say that was the time when we started publishing newspaper. This is about the time the Bangladesh community in New York City began growing. A good number of people were trying to start their businesses here. A good number of people began driving taxis, and new immigrants started coming. At the time, they needed the guidance. They needed the city health information. As the new immigrants and other immigrants do not read English language newspapers, they dependent and still depending on us, that means the ethnic newspapers. We try to provide as much information as possible. Till 2014, from 1991 till 2014, we used to sell our newspapers. But since 2014, we are just distributing this newspaper free. And our only source of revenue is advertising money. As you know, the 44% of the city's population is immigrants. They speak their own languages at home. We are serving these people through our newspapers. I strongly claim that now Bangladesh community, the city says this is the one of the fastest growing communities in the city. Now it's very strong, and it is because of our newspapers in Bengali language. And the first time in 2019, Mayor Bill de Blasio signed this executive order in favor of our newspapers. I thank him. I thank everybody who are working for this executive order. That is the only lifeline for the ethnic newspapers in this city. Otherwise, it is very hard to survive as a newspaper in this community. Thank you again to everybody.
Thank you. We will now hear from Kevin Boyle.
Time starts now.
It looks like we are not getting a response from Mr. Boyle.
Hello, how about that?
There we go. Now we can hear you. Go.
Hi, everybody. Kevin Boyle from the Rockaway Times. I would like to point out that we are a free newspaper, wholly reliant on advertising. And by free, that means we're more free than the internet. You know, the internet's free, except people need access to the internet, and they don't necessarily have it, particularly in Rockaway, where we have such a high concentration of nursing homes and public housing. So Executive Order 47 is crucial to our existence, and I really support everybody's efforts getting behind this. I'm going to cut it short because it's a long day for everybody, but thank you for everybody behind this effort.
Yes. We will now hear from Luciano Vasquez. After Luciano, we will hear from Juan Miguel Jimenez, and followed by Nolasco. We will need an interpreter for Luciano Vasquez, if the interpreter can give instruction.
Buenos días.
Time
Buenos
starts
días.
now.
Entonces, si me puedes dar una oración a la vez, después traduzco y después me da la próxima oración para ir todo más fluido. Adelante, señor.
Primero agradecer la oportunidad de la participación que nosotros tenemos.
First, I want to thank for the opportunity for us to participate. Adelante.
El estado de Nueva York tiene aproximadamente más de 1,000,000 de dominicanos.
The state of New York has approximately 1 million and something Dominicans.
Y en los momentos difíciles que ha tenido los Estados Unidos y sobre todo el estado de Nueva York, los medios de comunicación de nosotros dominicanos han estado siempre presentes.
And during the hard times that the United States and also the state of New York has had, us, the Dominican media has always been there to inform. Adelante.
Por consiguiente, vemos como una oportunidad de que ustedes o que este proyecto sea aprobado en beneficio de este segmento que nosotros somos su voz dentro del estado de Nueva York.
And in seeing that the opportunity of this project to be approved will give us the possibility to be also a voice here in the state of New York. Adelante.
Pero a pesar de que no han tomado en cuenta por más de 20 años en el aspecto de la publicidad, siempre hemos estado presentes en la política de aquí del estado de Nueva York, llevando el mensaje a la comunidad dominicana.
And despite we haven't been taken into account for more than 20 years now, we still have been here present for any policies that have been affected here in the city of New York. Adelante.
Porque la comunicación es un sacerdocio, es un compromiso que tenemos para informar nuestra comunidad.
Because the communication is a commitment that we have to inform our community. Adelante.
Y estas vibras que ha de tomar para que nos tomen en cuenta cómo nosotros producir la noticia tanto del actual alcalde, los concejales y Danis Rodríguez, Cabrera y los demás concejales, hemos estado ahí llevando las informaciones de su propuesta en beneficio de la comunidad dominicana.
And just like the other councilmen have worked so hard, we've always been here present while they've taken us into account to bring their messages across, whether it's the mayor, the councilman, Rodriguez, Cabrera. We have been here helping with the proposal to bring their messages like they have. Adelante.
En esta pandemia lloramos junto a los dominicanos, pero no dejamos de informarlos, porque era el papel de nosotros, a pesar de no tomarnos en cuenta en este proceso.
And during the pandemic, we have cried together, but we have also never stopped bringing in information, understanding that that was our duty to bring information. Adelante.
Por consiguiente, nuestra comunidad, que en su mayoría no maneja el idioma, el inglés, sin embargo, las mayorías de los medios de comunicación, radial, escrito, televisivo, digital, nuestras plataformas digitales de los diferentes programas, siempre están al servicio de este sector importante que vive aquí en el estado de Nueva York.
And in consequence of our communication, knowing that all our followers and listeners do not speak English. Despite of this, we have brought them information through all our media, whether written, TV, digital radio, digital platforms, always serving this very important population of New York State. Adelante.
Por consiguiente, permítamos, si somos parte del problema y parte de la solución, permítanos seguir viviendo como medio de comunicación, porque necesitamos que nos tomen en cuenta y necesitamos esa publicidad, no solo para beneficiarnos, sino también para que la colectividad de los dominicanos y dominicanas se beneficien en la información.
And if we are a part of the problem and part of the solution, let us come with you. Let us live. Let us be part of this media and take us into account in any publicity or any campaign in the future so we can continue bridging that communication for the people of New York.
Cuando nos montamos en un bus, en un tren, sabemos cómo piensan ellos, sabemos su dolor, lo escuchamos, lo pensamos, pero también es necesario que estos medios puedan sobrevivir en medio de la crisis en la que estamos viviendo.
And when we get on a bus and when we get on a train, we know how they feel, how they think. We understand the pain they're going through. So allow us to continue living and continue giving this service to the people in the communities of New York. Let us continue as a media service. Adelante.
Un país como los Estados Unidos y Nueva York, lleno de historia, lleno de comunidades integradas que forman y surge desde 1776 a 1862, esta gran nación forjada por todas las etnias, es necesario que también nosotros seamos parte de esa historia y de esta formación para vivir en los medios de comunicación y poder informar.
And as a U.S., as a country, as a New York State, full of all its history and integrated communications from 1776 to 1872.
Time expired.
We forged all by the differences of that everyone brings to the table. Let us be part of this history, of the history that's to come by bringing this service of media and communications to our communities.
Gracias, que Dios bendiga a los Estados Unidos y que Dios ilumine a cada uno de ustedes para poder hacer la realidad de nosotros ser parte también de como Estado y como comunicación.
And may God bless America and the United States and allow some illumination for all of you to help us be part of the U.S., be part of all this that is happening and part of the history of New York and the United States. Thank you.
Thank you. We will hear from Juan Miguel Jimenez, followed by Nolasco, followed by Roberto Amaro Garcia, followed by Gregorio Morobel. Juan Miguel Jimenez.
Time starts now.
Did you mean fan?
Yes. Hello?
Hi, we can hear you.
Okay. Hold on one second, please.
Just say,
Hello?
We can hear you.
Okay, perfect. Sorry. First of all, thank you. Thank you for this space and especially for the younger population in the media, Latinx media. Today represented by me and many others that we might be able to maybe listen today. Latino immigrants have an important role to play in the United States economy. However, we tend to be less educated and earn less than maybe the native-born population. Our children's will more likely than their parents to earn a higher education and achieve economic success. That's a fact. I'm doing myself as my example. And the big three that we have to pay attention here, especially in this area, Puerto Ricans, Dominicans, Mexicans, comprehensive at the 70% of all the New York Latinos, yet other nationalities, Ecuadorians, Colombians, and Central Americans, They figured notably in a mosaic of Spanish-speaking groups. No other city in the country displays as such like more people display as here in Hispanic origins and people here in New York. Hispanic culture is having a profound effect on American food, music, sports, beauty products, fashion, politics, and much more. This influence is not due to only the sheer size of Hispanic population, which is right now around broadly 52 million now in the United States. Roughly one in 6 Americans, with a projection to nearly 1 in 3 by 2050. Initially, throughout offers another immigrant press by those who are suited in European ethnic press in the United States, Spanish language newspapers are conceived a transitory medium that allowed new immigrants to adapt to a new nationality and new country. That's why having these voices, especially younger voices, and people on TV that reflect who they are and they can reflect themselves is such a big importance, so we can support it and we can promote it, so we can be able to make the transition smoother and also be more peaceful, and also to get relate to what we have here, to this vast splash of influences. Around 85% of Hispanic listen still Spanish language music in the United States. FM radio remains the most popular music source, but platforms such as Pandora, YouTube Music, Spotify, and also used as a regular basis by Hispanic consumers. And the same thing happened with many other medias that we actually provide, podcasts, TV, newspapers, and we all have it all. And we all produce it all because we need to have that kind of sources so we can promote, speak, and have a language, and also a voice that represent what happened and what's going on here. There's not much to say, just thank you. Thank you for the space that we can be able to express ourselves, and also to be able to make this happen and make a difference. Since now on, maybe this is an opportunity for us to keep growing and to making this more broad and also more inclusive for all of us. Thank you so much.
Thank you. We will now turn to Nolasco. Nolasco will need an interpreter if the interpreter can give instruction.
Hi.
Time starts now.
Thanks.
Sí, si me puedes permitir, me das una oración, después puedo traducir, después vas con la próxima oración. Adelante.
Okay. Yo voy a hablar en inglés. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Okay. Thanks to the elected officials for bringing me to be in this critical issue like Latino media. I'm Nolasco from New Yorkinos Media Group, a small corporation that began with the digital media and news or digital newspaper, NewYorkinos.com, that is like New Yorkers in Spanish. For about 10 years, we have been covering more than 3,000 of events and posting tens of thousands of news about New York City. The growing of this project inspired me to create Latino Social Media Week, a big Latino event for our Latino people in social media. This event, I do this event together with Google. I'm here to testify that I'm part of a group of media that have not received any advertising to post in our media from Ethnic Community Media NYC office. This initiative will be great for our community, the Latino community, and for our brothers and sisters, journalists, reporters, photographers, and others. Thanks to the Borough President Eric Adams, the Speaker of the City, Corey Johnson, and Councilmember Dennis Rodriguez, who worked in this project that I hope becomes a law. Thank you.
Thank you. We will now hear testimony from Roberto Amoro Garcia. You may begin when the sergeant calls time.
Time starts now.
Buenas tardes. Good afternoon. This initiative is very important. But I want to first thank Eric Adams, Borough President of Brooklyn, Councilman Cabrera, and Idanis Rodriguez and Corey Johnson for the support that they're giving that. I think that the most important, most of the media that works in any communities is the main support are like the restaurants, the small business that are part of the community that most of the time are the main supporter of our activities. Everybody knows that newspapers, TV shows, TV programs, news, the only way of support is advertisement. And during the pandemic, most of those places, restaurants, clubs, they closed or they were working on minimum capacity. So that happened, that made possible that a lot of people reduce the production team. Some of them disappear because at that point, everybody that you will be asking for advertising to support, they say, well, I would like to help you, but nothing happened. I can do it because, you know, I'm not producing anything and I'm not getting money from the city or whatever reason. But with this initiative, I think that will be a good thing for get more people into make better production, more quality in our media, and also that if anything happen again, like this pandemic that closed the city for many months, we will be still able to inform the community and be part of the effort in order to communicate the things that the city need to communicate. So in that order, I think that the support that the city council and authority do to this proposal will be really important in order for the small media production company continue to work, and also for improve our quality, because we have another way to get the money that we need to continue to doing our job. Thank you.
Thank you. We will now hear from Gregorio Morabel. You may begin when the subject calls time.
Time starts now.
Saludos. Voy a expresarme en español, por lo que voy a necesitar el intérprete.
Yes.
Está bien, entonces quiero que hable con voz alta porque su conexión está bastante bajita. Entonces háblame fuerte, deme una oración, después puedo traducir y después sigues con la próxima oración. Adelante.
Perfecto. Sí, primeramente quiero saludar esta iniciativa por cuanto viene a contribuir con lo que es la descentralización de la comunicación en el estado de Nueva York.
Well, first, I want to give thanks for this initiative because of its contribution on decentralizing communications here in New York City. Adelante.
Saludar a Idani Rodríguez, el concejal Idani Rodríguez, por ser parte de este propósito, y también al concejal Fernando Cabrera, que también está haciendo su aporte en esta dirección.
And I also want to thank Councilman Rodriguez for being part of this, and also Councilman Cabrera for all his help with this. Adelante.
Los amigos que me antecedieron, pues fueron bien explícitos en lo que nosotros procuramos.
The friends who all came before me were very explicit on what we are searching for. Adelante.
No vamos a extendernos porque no vamos a repetir los conceptos.
I'm not going to extend it because I'm not going to repeat the concepts. Adelante.
Pero Gregorio Morrobel es productor de un programa de televisión por 7 años y hemos visto con preocupación la forma en que se maneja la publicidad en el estado de Nueva York.
Gregorio is a producer on a TV show for 7 years, and we have all seen what has concerned us about how publicity is dealt with here in the city of New York. Adelante.
La comunicación no es solamente los grandes emporios como el caso de Univisión, Telemundo y otros, es donde se distribuye la comunicación.
The communication is not only a place where they give information the way Univision or Telemundo does, but it's a place to distribute information for everyone. Adelante.
Hay una cantidad de productores de programas de televisión que establecen un vínculo directo con aquellos que ven su programa, y normalmente ese vínculo es lo que le permite mantener un contacto para recibir la información.
Many TV producers establish a straight link to the viewers, and it's this link that permits the communication to flow directly with the communities. Adelante.
Ahora mismo hay un sistema que se está implementando para ejercer el voto aquí en Nueva York, que tiene que ver con la selección múltiple de varios candidatos. Esa comunicación solamente se está distribuyendo en los grandes emporios de comunicación, mas sin embargo, aquí no ha llegado nada a los pequeños productores de televisión y también lo que elaboran periódicos.
Now, today there's this system that is being brought about for the sake of the elections, for the communication of the elections, but none of the small TV producers have been given any kind of resources to take part in this situation in New York. Adelante.
Creemos que ya es el momento por esta iniciativa de que se inicie un propósito de descentralizar la comunicación y que los neoyorquinos, no importa no importa el área donde vivan, le llegue la comunicación a través de los medios que ellos han seleccionado.
It's time that this initiative starts with this purpose, with decentralizing and allowing New Yorkers, no matter where they live, to be able to obtain the information that they need.
Sabemos que a partir de ahora eso va a cambiar, pero sí entendemos que en la medida que ustedes actúen en esa dirección, la información se va a multiplicar y le va a llegar con mayor y mejor contenido a los neoyorquinos.
And we know that it will change, but how you all act and how you steer this into the right direction will affect how the information reaches to a multitude of populations within New York City.
Este país se caracteriza por la equidad, se caracteriza por la participación equitativa entre todos los sectores, y creemos que en esta parte había una falla y que de aquí en adelante será corregida. Muchísimas gracias.
And this country has the character and the purpose of always being driven by equality and making all sectors equal. And although it has failed in this one environment, we see it that in the future, it is starting to want to correct this. Thank you very much.
Thank you. At this time, if your name has not been called and you wish to testify, please raise your hand using the Zoom raise hand function, and I will ask the interpreter to repeat that in Spanish.
Si en este momento usted no ha dado algún comentario y desea hacerlo y nos ha notado, este es el momento para usar la función de Zoom que permite uno subir la mano, raise hand, para usted indicarle a la monedora que deseas dar algún comentario.
Thank you. Anyone who wishes can submit written testimony for the record at testimony@council.nyc.gov.
Y cualquiera,
If you can say that in Spanish.
what's the email again? Testimony?
At council.nyc.gov.
Y quien, el que desea dar un comentario, tal vez en escrito, puedes redactarlo y enviarlo al correo electrónico testimony@council.nyc.gov.
Thank you so much.
Muchas gracias.
Seeing no hands raised, I will now turn it over to Chair Rodriguez for final remarks.
Y como veo que no hay nadie que ha subido la mano, le voy a entregar la palabra al concejal Rodríguez para sus comentarios de conclusión.
One moment.
Elizabeth, just give me 1 second while I sort it out.
Thank you.
Councilwoman, Councilwoman Diaz? Councilmember,
Probably so. I think he did.
Councilmember Diaz? Give me 1 second, Elizabeth.
I don't know why I'm unmuted. Hold on one.
This year might estimate the payments coming weaker than we forecast next year because somebody
Sorry, I was having some technical issue from my end.
That's no worries. I'm passing to you for closing remarks.
Okay, then, thank you. I would like to thank everyone again. As I always say, you guys from the council, the tech guy, the sergeant, you are the one that make us look good because we connect with all New Yorkers, and also from the council perspective, also, you work with us in this bill. I also like to thank, Evelyn Collado, my legislative person. I'm also thanking Tomás Garita, my communication person, and Elizabeth Conforme, my chief of staff, for all the job. This bill, will be one of the most important legacies that we will live in our city of New York. So thank you to all of you, but most important, thank you to the publisher, all of you guys, the small one, that are, small when it comes to the budget, but you are so big because you are the one that connects to those underserved community, those who stay alive and providing the services to our city, especially during the time of COVID. So quiero dar las gracias a todos los que han hecho posible esta audiencia. Para mí, como el autor principal de este proyecto de ley, junto con el presidente del condado, Eric Adams, con el speaker Corey Johnson, con Oswald Félix, nos sentimos muy satisfechos de que ustedes, los que tienen programas de radio, televisión, por 10, 20, 30 años, huérfanos muchas veces de apoyo financiero de la ciudad, pero con una determinación de seguir hacia adelante, están haciendo historia. Así que, thank you, and with that, this hearing is adjourned.
Elizabeth, I see a hand raised. Can you call on the person, please?
Yes. Abu Taher.
Hi. So, hello.
Hi, we can hear you.
Okay. So, I have a suggestion, which is in order to work together and in order to, take a robust, initiative, I think that the city or city council, whatever, they can form a council, which advisory council with the ethnic media main, whatever they choose, a panel where they can get their advice and, have a meeting, quarterly or whatever it is, and it will be better to communicate and better understanding.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, the hearing has ended. I will